I've made many personal finance mistakes in my life. To be honest, too many to count. But through each one, I've learned some hard-earned lessons. So in today's video, I want to share with you 10 of my greatest personal finance lessons that have essentially changed my life. Hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, where we learn to grow our wealth slow and steady. The number one greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that when we buy things to impress people, we actually end up with less money. I know, as obvious as this sounds, I really didn't learn this lesson until I was well into my adulthood. Morgan Housel, the author of Psychology of Money, said it best in his book. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. We're all social beings, so it's not a surprise that we all need social validation. The problem is that we often try to do this through things we buy and own. And I struggled with this pretty much my whole 20s. Why did I rent an apartment that ate up 50% of my take-home pay? So I could impress my parents when they visited. Why did I offer to pay for dinner when I could barely afford to eat out on my own? So I could impress my friends to make them think I was rich. Why did I buy a brand new car at the age of 24 with ridiculous financing? So I could impress random people on the street. What is sad is that after all that effort, I realized too late that no one really cared. My parents didn't care that I lived in a fancy apartment. They were actually worried for me, saying that I was overstretching myself. My friends were impressed by my willingness to pay for dinner. They were just happy that they got a free meal. And the random people on the street? They could care less. I mean, when was the last time we were impressed by some random guy driving a brand new car on the road? If you're like me, you probably were more annoyed than impressed. If you're going to spend money, spend it on things that really add value. Never spend money to impress anyone, because not only does no one care, but you end up holding all the bills without anything to show for it. The number two greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that real millionaires are actually frugal. Dave Ramsey, one of the most famous American personal finance personalities, said it best. Typical millionaire lives in a middle-class home, drives a 2-year-old or older paid-for car, and buys blue jeans at Walmart. Dr. Thomas Stanley published a book titled The Millionaire Next Door in 1996, which was based on his survey of thousands of actual millionaires in America. Contrary to what media makes out millionaires to look like, wearing expensive clothes, watches, and other status artifacts, in reality, most real-life millionaires were actually the opposite. While many of them did indeed have high income from their lucrative careers or business, the key characteristics that led them to becoming a millionaire in the first place was their frugality. They learned to live well below their means. They wore inexpensive clothes and suits. They most often drove used cars rather than the current model. Some even called themselves tightwad. For me, this fact was really eye-opening because growing up in an immigrant family, I truly believed that real millionaires were lavish spenders. And they spent because they could afford to. Even my parents thought that as well. When we first immigrated from South Korea to the United States, we saw people driving fancy cars, living in nice, beautiful homes, and going on lavish vacations every year. Though South Korea is a wealthier country today, it wasn't so in the 80s. It was still struggling to find its footing in the world, so when I saw the wealth around me, I told myself this is what I must do and have. Become a millionaire one day so I can own all these nice things as well. But the reality is that real millionaires became millionaires because they didn't live like the millionaires we see on TV. True wealth is built on the foundation of frugality, not lavish lifestyle. The number three greatest personal finance lesson that changed my life is that when we have average friends, we will have an average life. Jim Rohn, the well-known motivational speaker, famously said it best. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Most often, our friends and our networks are formed by the circumstances we're born into, the neighborhood we grew up in, the schools we attended, and the coworkers we work together with. It is rare that we go out of our comfort zone to intentionally seek out new relationships that could further our lives. Most often than not, we stay within our comfort zones and just keep hanging out with the people that we know and do what we've always done. But what happens if the people that are within our natural circles all have negative life and money habits? If all the people that we know in our lives are broke, what do you think are the chances that we'll become financially successful? It's the same with our health and education. If the people that are naturally within our circles are unhealthy and uneducated, what are the chances that we'll miraculously become super fit and highly educated? If we want to improve ourselves, we have to level up our network. This was one of the biggest changes that my wife and I made when we decided to radically change our finances. Though we didn't know anyone in the personal finance space, we forced ourselves to leave our comfort zone and attend seminars, events, and retreats that focused on improving our finances. To give you one extreme example, we even attended a week-long money-focused event in England. Mind you, we live in California and we didn't know anyone at this event. But it ended up becoming one of the most life-transforming events in our lives, and many people we met remain good friends today. If you want to really level up your life and your finances, you have to level up your network. And this doesn't mean you're abandoning your current friends and network. Just push yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you're improving your average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.